Today on Chainlinked, the SmartCon MCs reflect on takeaways from the epic 3-day conference, including CCIP, Chainlink keepers, and exciting enterprise Chainlink integrations for major businesses. I'll also talk to Rich Brown, co-founder of the Smart Contract Research Forum, and learn about SCRF, or SCRF's, vision to unite academic, industry, and independent researchers to advance the smart contract industry. Chainlinked is a pocket-sized podcast series looking at the many applications of Chainlink blockchain oracles across global enterprise, the blockchain industry, and emerging tech projects. We break down the news and frame Chainlink technical innovations and integrations for any listener. My name's Dr. Andy Boyan. You can call me Andy, and I'll be your host. SmartCon number 1 was a couple of weeks ago. By now, the talks are all available on the official Chainlink YouTube, so be sure to go watch all of those amazing sessions. Today, I wanted to bring a couple of the MCs from the conference on to talk about some of the highlights. I got to MC on one of the stages, and I have Lauren and Mike here. They're both from the Chainlink Labs business development team, and they each ran the show for a day on one of the other stages. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Doing great.
I'm doing good, Andy.
Good. Excited to talk to you guys. I like both of you. We get to work together, but we haven't recorded together, so this is pretty fun.
Yeah, first time on a podcast.
Well, you're MCing, you're Twitch streaming, and now you're podcasting. Good job, dude.
I'm a man of many talents. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? There's first time for everything. Oh, man.
So I love MCing. It is a super exciting job, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But for you guys, what stood out to you about your experience MCing?
I've always been waiting for the day for myself to interview a group of people, but I did not expect it to be with a bunch of Anon avatars talking to, a bunch of photos, JPEGs on the screen. So it was definitely interesting navigating that territory. But overall, it was awesome. And I greatly enjoyed the experience and can't wait to continue.
Well, crypto's interesting like that. You guys interact with Anon teams here and there. It's just a part of our industry that's a little bit different and pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So all the talks were pretty amazing, the ones that I caught. But are there any that stood out to you as memorable as, being so close to the action?
Sergey really blew my socks off.
Oh my God.
I really thought his energy was amplified even more. If that man could have more energy than he already has, he found it. So definitely say him.
He did this amazing thing where in podcasts sometimes, he gets to talk a little bit about the philosophy, but we just gave him completely free license to go for hours on why are you doing this? And it was inspirational. It was like this fire, lighting a fire. It was really cool to me. Mike, what did you think?
That definitely was the highlight of the show for me. The audience really enjoyed that and really got to see the future vision of Chainlink and what we're building over here.
You know what I loved about it was long because it was this technically detailed vision supported by philosophic principles. Here's why we're doing a thing. Here's exactly what we're doing. There was one guy, Balaji, actually, amazing keynote speaker. I follow him on Twitter. I think his ideas are really interesting and fantastic, and I think about them. He ended 10 minutes early with his talk 10 minutes early. I was like, okay, if there's any questions, I'll take them. But we don't really have a mechanism for questions. So I was like, I'm on. And I went on and I just got to interview him basically and have a chat with him for a few minutes about the project and about his philosophies and the ideas. And it was something that I just got to do. I wasn't expecting, but it was a really amazing experience. Anything like that happen to you guys?
Yeah, I woke up morning of and saw on the schedule that I was going to be doing an AMA with Alex Mashinsky from Celsius. And that was a little bit of a surprise to me. I'd get to do a 45-minute AMA with him, with the fun folks that were in the chat. I was a little bit nervous because it's the AMA. You don't know what's going to get asked. You can't really control the flow. But the audience actually put out some really good questions. And Alex was a terrific sport. I didn't lob him all softballs. There were definitely some more difficult questions in the chat, and he didn't shy away from them. He didn't sidestep them. He's very forthright. So it ended up being an excellent interview. I'm really pumped for when it gets out on YouTube.
Right before the pseudonymity and DeFi, we were in the countdown where I was supposed to just introduce, and they said, you're on right now and ask questions. So I did really greatly enjoy talking and learning about their philosophies behind being anonymous versus not being anonymous. I personally struggle with all the time, whether, do you want to be the face? Do you want to talk? Do you want everybody to hear you? Or can you do that without a face? And I think that idea and that philosophy behind, giving up everything for everybody else and being completely anonymous is truly honorable. So it was really great to hear perspectives from people that you never really have the opportunity to talk to on a daily basis ever, or you might never know who they are. So it was really great, even though it's just their voice, to be able to have that level of interaction with completely strangers who have such a big influence in the DeFi world was fun for me and very rewarding.
That's really cool. One of the other ones that I really liked was Cooper Turley from Audius came on, and he did the same thing. I thought he was scheduled for 15 minutes, but he was really scheduled for 25. And so he was like, I'm done. And I jumped on. And so I got to talk to him. And Audius is like a music platform that has social tokens baked in. And so I got to talk about the music industry and kind of what they're doing. And he's just a cool, really genuine guy. And then there was a full panel afterwards with a bunch of influencers, musicians, and a Twitch streamer, Ali Straza, who plays Hearthstone, which I used to play. So I used to watch her. So it was just like a cool thing that kind of emerged and happened as we got used to it. Mike, you mentioned the community brought really good questions throughout the conference. I was crazy impressed with the amount of not just enthusiasm, but also genuine curiosity and like thoughtful questions that the community brought.
The star of the show, Andy, was really the cutaway music. I don't think I've seen any requests for the cutaway music more than anything. So maybe you can link down somewhere in the show description where people can find that. I even had a guy mention he wants the beat because he's going to freestyle over it. So please, let's get that out there to the community. It seems like that's in really hot demand, and let's give them what they want.
As of last week, the closing music for this podcast is that music. So I have done a tie-in, but I'll make sure people can get that because it was very popular. For you personally, is there one core takeaway that has stood out as you look back on your experience emceeing SmartCon 1?
I think it's just amazing how big this community has grown. Just year over year, it just gets bigger. There's more projects constantly working with us. It gets bigger every year. I don't think it's stopping. Got to see a lot of the things that people are building. It's truly exciting. This is an amazing space, and I can't wait for 2022.
What about you, Lauren?
Yeah, I would just say it's so exciting to see how many people are building. You know, being in crypto for a while now, you always see the old faces, but there's so many new faces out there. So it's so exciting to see so many people contributing to our community and building great projects that will ultimately change the world and change the way we operate. So, okay, let's go.
Lauren, Mike, thank you guys so much for coming on. Hey, so if somebody needs to get a hold of you, if they want to think about integrating with Chainlink, how do they get a hold of you? Mike, why don't you go first?
So I'd say the two best ways to get in contact with me, either email, which is mikez@smartcontract.com, or you can ping me on Telegram, which is CL_MikeZ.
Lauren?
The two best ways as well is Twitter. I am Halsteady, HALSTEADY, or on Telegram, I am at LAUREN, HALSTEAD, Lauren Halstead. Hit me up.
Cool. I'll make sure to have those links in the description. So if you're a project looking to integrate with Chainlink or looking to expand your integration, these are some folks you can talk to about that. Thanks for coming on, guys. We'll talk to you again next time.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Bye. One of the things at SmartCon that I was excited to learn about was the Smart Contract Research Forum. I wanted to introduce that to my audience here. And so I brought Rich Brown from SCRF, Smart Contract Research Forum, on to talk about what that is. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
So what is SCRF?
SCRF is a solution to a pernicious problem. That pernicious problem is that crypto moves at a breakneck pace. We're frequently making decisions, coming up with plans, iterating and innovating as problems arise. That's great, and it's inspiring, and it's very encouraging to watch. But it's only half of the story when it comes to some of the domains that we deal with. Those other domains have been deeply explored in academia and in working groups and research teams, and all over the world. People have deep domain knowledge in some of the things that we're just discovering in this space. And so SCRF is the solution to the problem of how do we get this information, this long history of solutions and thought experiments and propositions out of academia, present them to industry in a way that's likely to create some kind of an actionable result that makes all of crypto better. There's about 1,000 nuances, but there you go. That's the elevator pitch.
So there's like a gap between academia and industry. You're looking to help bridge that model. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's a good encapsulation. I've been involved with the granting world for a long time, the community building world for a long time, issuing bounties and supporting sort of nascent teams. There's a commonality here where these teams are building things, and when it comes time to due diligence on the projects that they're proposing and the things that they're thinking about, the question frequently arose in my mind is, did you do the research? And the answer frequently was no. Trying to figure out why that friction occurs, because we're not inventing economics. We're not inventing governance. We're not inventing crypto plus X. We're not inventing those things. We're connecting those things together. And the question in my mind was, why aren't we going to the source? There's institutions all over the world whose mandate is to investigate these things. And why aren't we communicating? And so trying to determine what the friction is. Why aren't we reaching out to academia? Why don't we have professors in our Rolodexes? Why don't we have students helping us out with these things? It is a big question. And there's the friction there that needs to be identified. And that's one of the things that we're trying to narrow in on. What is the blocker between these two great peoples? Why aren't they talking to each other?
So I was an academic for many years, a professor, and I don't think you need graduate school to be in crypto. Like at graduate school, you do the reading. Like I did for my area of expertise, I did a tremendous amount of reading, and I was familiar with the literature in my field going back to the 1920s and 1880s before I started in on my dissertation. So I don't know that you necessarily need to know all that to start development, but having access to that and like being aware of some of those things seems like a smart thing to at least have in your pocket when you're building systems that are maintaining millions or billions of dollars.
I agree. And it's a lot to ask for any one individual to do both, to be boots on the ground, rapidly innovating, building and whiteboarding, and at the same time doing their diligence and deep research and thinking and pondering deeply. It requires different types of individuals to do that thing. In academia, there's this repository of knowledge, and what we need is access to that and a group of individuals that can help us to translate and summarize and bring it to the table. There's a rate problem going on where we're moving extremely quickly. And academia, to remain relevant, to remain engaged, needs to have sort of an insider access to where our data sets are and what our new problems are and what we're all focusing on now or for the next 6 months.
So this isn't just computer scientists and economists. This is a broader reaching.
Yeah, that's precisely it. That and so obviously we're talking to cryptographers and mathematicians and programmers and computer scientists all the time. But here's a hot take for you. And governance, from my opinion, is not an algorithmic problem. It's a human coordination problem. And you don't need to be a cryptographer to provide the space with information about the differences between a firm and a collective. These are words that academia they're loaded with information, but in the crypto space, we're just sort of waking up to these differences. That's the kind of information we need to bring across the table.
Computers do what you expect, but people don't always do that.
No, they rarely do. And that's part of the fun, right? And so how do we mix these two worlds together? We're finding lots of fantastically compelling thought experiments or even real world experiments that bringing sociologists and anthropologists to the table. They've been theorizing about things for a long time and what it would be like if people behaved in this way and if you applied incentives in that way. And they were able to coordinate this way. Those were largely thought experiments, but where crypto is kind of providing tooling that allows these experiments to be acted out and data to be collected for the first time. And this is enormously compelling.
One of the things you said is there should be eventually actionable outcomes. And I think in your SCRF presentation, you mentioned a grants program. Like, is there a way for people to get involved and treat this like a traditional academic grants program? Like faculty could do this or graduate students?
Short answer is yes. So there's a lot of flexibility we have to provide funding for new research, funding for proofs of concept based on research that academics might bring to our table, to have academics help us to build out a research team internally.
I can't overstate how influential supporting graduate students who are interested in new areas can be. Just supporting somebody with weird ideas to do that research, that's an investment for sometimes 50, 60, hundreds of years down the road if somebody's got graduate students of their own they're doing. So a lot of opportunity there for a long term. Like this isn't a short term play, right?
Yeah, there's a significant amount of impact here. And the project that I'm describing, so SCRF, we're connecting industry and academia. Let's get the galaxy brains together. Let's get the advanced researchers together. Let's get the junior researchers together. Let's facilitate this. Let's grant them. Let's train them. And then bring all this information to the space. These are laudable goals, but the total addressable market here, I can make guesses. Maybe there's 10,000, maybe there's 50,000 people in the world that sort of fit into that bucket. But you touched on something there that I truly believe is that there is an outsized impact. It helps the space as a whole get just a little bit smarter, just a little bit faster than it was before. And these are critical critical requirements because crypto is about to get big. And I know we've been saying that for a while, but
it keeps coming true. It's about to get big, and then it gets a little bigger, and then we say it's about to get even bigger, and then it does.
Yeah, and if we can be as best positioned as we possibly can be for the subsequent waves that are coming, it's better for everybody. How do we do governance better? How do we do coordination better? How do we do privacy better? Figuring out these problems and incentivizing the people that are thinking about them deeply and then getting some actionable results into the hands of industry is critical. And it's going to show exponential dividends in the future. So that's what we're all about.
So if you're an academic or if you're interested in research, if you're a developer or an engineer, if you're an enterprise, go to smartcontractresearch.org. Is that your form?
That is it. You'll find information there about our various programs, and then you'll find links to our GitHub, and you'll find links to our Discords. And so definitely check us out, and then come join us in chat, and we will do everything we can to get you put to work as quickly as possible.
My friend, it's been amazing to talk to you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
This has been episode 3 of Chainlinked. If you'd like to watch the videos we talked about from SmartCon, including several SCRF panels, head to the official Chainlink YouTube channel. They have their own playlist, so you can easily find them. Thanks for listening and being part of the Chainlink community. Now it's time for you to help me grow Chainlinked and the entire Chainlink ecosystem. Subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast. It helps the algorithms spread Chainlink to more crypto-curious people. Next, follow me and Chainlink Today on Twitter. I'm at Andy Boyan, and you can get updates on the podcast at Chainlink Today. There are friends helping distribute the pod. Finally, join the official Chainlink Discord and Telegram communities. Many community members, including me, hang out there, so you can chat with me about what you want to hear more of on Chainlinked. Again, thanks for supporting the podcast, and I'll catch you next time.